So my name is Bryan Loper. I'm the president of the Freedom Link Group Incorporated. I want to thank Amir for bringing us in as a partnership with Spec 5. It has been a pleasure to work with them, and we had a lot of great things happen this last year, and the excitement that went on with this system within our communities in Atlanta, Texas. Y'all probably don't know where Atlanta, Texas is at. Any of y'all ever heard of Texarkana, Texas, or Texarkana, Arkansas? Okay, I'm 25 miles south of there. That's where I was born, raised, lived there my whole life, go to church 3 blocks from my house, born 3 blocks from the house, and that's where I'm at. So I'm a homegrown country boy from Atlanta, Texas. That's where I'm from. Okay, so a couple of years ago, I was given the opportunity to purchase the Freedom Link Group repeater system. And in that time, the Freedom Link Group repeater system was designed by a gentleman named Stephen Smith and Jim Collum. Stephen was a friend of mine that tragically got killed in a motorsports accident by his brother at a racetrack near where we live at. That put everything as far as the Freedom Link Group repeater system completely on Jim to have to maintain, keep up, and take care of everything. So my next question is, how many ham radio operators are in here? Okay. Are any of y'all repeater administrators? No? Okay. Your repeater administrators that you may know that services your repeater systems in your area would be your contact that you need to get with as far as building the mesh in your area. That is a prime opportunity. And as a ham radio operator, and y'all as ham radio operators, you know, height is king, okay? The higher you can get an antenna up in the air, the better you are. So it's not always about power, it's about the antenna in itself as a whole. So I was given the opportunity by Jim to purchase the Freedom Link Group. And I sat back and I understood what Jim was going through after a little bit of time and what was going on. This repeater system that we have is for 13 repeaters that are linked together by RF linking. There is no internet based with it. And the reason it was set up in this form, it was set up through the National Weather Service in Shreveport, Louisiana, for their CWA coverage area, which is county warned area that the National Weather Service at Shreveport covers. Their counties and parishes. All of y'all are familiar with that, with your National Weather Service in your area. This particular system was set up to cover all of that CWA for amateur radio operators to give in reports during severe weather situations throughout that whole coverage area. Me personally, once I became a ham radio operator, I knew people from the National Weather Service. If you see on my list here, I'm a weather watcher for KTBS Channel 3 in Shreveport, was that before this, and I knew a lot of people in the industry through this. So that was just kind of a fit for me to be a ham radio operator, and then once I got in and got this system, I was asked to be the person to come to the National Weather Service to do the activation of the Skywarn within our county warned area. Well, COVID hits. We get drove out of the offices, I can't go in, so me and the severe weather gentleman there, Charlie Woodrum, we worked on a deal for chat room through my house, and I started activating that system, Skywarn Net Control, at my home. So that's where that went through at and come through, and through all the last few years, I've got a lot of credentials behind myself because I am a big person in emergency communication. And MESHCON is something that fits right in with that category when it comes to emergency communications. You know, as a ham radio operator, every one of us that are operators, we're always looking for another tool in the toolbox. I like open ends, box ends, crescent wrenches, hammers. I like them all, okay? So MESHCON was something that we thought was something that might be of an interest to us with the way our system is set up. So I'm going to explain to you how the system is set up. Excuse me. So if you look at this map and you see the repeaters that are set up out there across basically the whole state of Texas, because it goes on west from us as far as the linking. That was a prime candidate for us to be able to put relays on towers where we have our equipment already set up for repeater systems and the linking of it. Well, our repeater system works basically the same way that the mesh does for MESHCON. It is a linking system that links them all together and builds a mesh. So it's set up basically the same as how our repeater systems was set up. So here was the key. When we started out, and I actually had one of my ham radio friends that said, "Man, have you ever heard of MESHCON?" And I went, "No." He goes, "You need to look at that. It's interesting." So I did. I pulled it up, and I went, "Wow, this is something that we can do as a group." It's hands-on stuff. It's, you know, as ham radio operators, we like to have our hands on things. We like to tear things apart, put things back together, make things. You know, that's our part of our hobby that we love. So I look at this and I'm like, I want to try something. I want to get one of these relays. I want to put a relay or a node up at one of our repeater sites and see how it works out. So I do a search. Spec 5 was the first thing that jumped up on the search engine there. And I'm like, I'm going to order one of these relays. But I want to get a hold of them first and let them know exactly what we do and how we're set up. So I send an email out. Daniel gets the email, and Amir wants to have a conference call with me. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on here, you know? So, so we have the conference call, and Amir, I appreciate your bringing us in as a partnership with you guys, and I do hope that we have been an asset to help you with the journey that you have to make this work. Great, fantastic. So the reason I talk about what I'm talking about and how repeaters are set up, most of y'all that live in an area, whether you realize it or not, there are ham radio operators within your part of the country, wherever you're at, that has a repeater linking system. So take advantage of those sites, and it's like I told Amir, if you know a repeater administrator, that is your key person to make contact with to be able to apply a MESHCON device at, because they have access to locations that the general public just does not have access to. So their tower locations, height being king, is your location that those nodes and relays need to go to, period. We have learned through some of the things that we've gone through this last year, and y'all that may want to put one up at your home, a relay or a node of some type at your home, getting your node up above tree height is a key factor in making the mesh to where it will have a longer distance, of course, and make it to where you will be able to pick up more nodes as you grow the mesh, okay? So the Freedom Link group, back then, once I attained the Freedom Link group, I looked at how Jim was trying to take care of 13 repeaters. All these that are in purple are the Freedom Link group, okay? That system is set up through linking to connect to ETech. This is the ETech group. This is the North Central Texas group of repeaters. And there's another group of repeaters down here by Rust that we connect to that comes down here to y'all's area. So basically, from my home or an HT radio, I can talk basically across the whole state of Texas through these links when they're linked together, okay? That system is set up now, and the Freedom Link group is part of TDM, Texas Division of Emergency Management, and we have been asked to link these systems together. We even did it when we had the eclipse. We had that, and we were following it, because y'all know, just like I do, they thought that the end of the world was coming, right, when the eclipse happened. But we wanted to have that system as a backup there for that. So we connected up through TDM, and like I say, the Freedom Link group, when it was first organized, was not part of TDM. Now it is. So kind of back to when Jim was in charge, okay? Jim had 13 repeaters he's trying to take care of. I sat back and I went, okay. Jim goes, I'll sell it to you. I'll sell it to nobody else. Pennies on the dollar. If you don't want to buy it and you don't want to take over and take care of it, I'm diminishing it. That was the last thing I wanted to see. That was the last thing I wanted to see in my community, was someone was out there trying to protect our community during severe weather situations or any other kind of situation that may come around. You know, communication is the factor to saving lives. And that is what our whole outlook and our system is based off of. If we can save one person's life, it's worth everything that we do, money we spend, every part of effort we put into it. No matter what we do, if we save one person's life because of it, it's worth it. So I looked at Jim's deal and I'm like, man, he's trying to take care of 13 repeaters. I can't take care of 13 repeaters. So I start gathering up and talk legal stuff with my lawyer friend. Told him, I said, hey, what would it take for us to be a nonprofit organization? Nothing to it, man. I'll help you out, take care of every bit of it. Okay, cool. So I start getting my people together that I thought were someone that could contribute to separate things within the system. That way we could all work together as a team to make this system be relevant, stay together, everybody don't get overworked and all that. So that's what we did. We made it a nonprofit organization, and everybody has their part of what we do with that system. Whether it's mowing the grass or replacing repeaters or climbing the towers to put new antennas and cabling or whatever. That's what we do. We all work together as a team. So once we went back and started working with the MESHCON deal, you would be surprised that the team, plus the other team members that are out there that are clubs or organizations for ham radio that wanted to be a part of it and wanted to know everything about it and how it worked. Yes, MESHCON was not something that was really ham radio related at the time, but now it is. I think it has grown in leaps and bounds through the ham radio community. And it's like I told Amir, us ham radio guys, we like electronics. We like things that challenge us. We like things that we can have fun doing and this is right up our alley. You know, it's our go-to. So I know Amir and Daniel both, they've been making, or Daniel has been making some Hamfest, and I told him, I said, man, you go to Hamfest, I said, get ready, brother. I said, you better take your throat lozenges with you. Was I right, Daniel? I guarantee you, we love electronics, baby. So anyway, we're going to a 501 thing here, and that's when I, through the email to Daniel and Amir, this partnership came together. And before I took over, the Freedom Link group was just the Freedom Link group. When we took over, we changed it into Incorporated, Freedom Link Group Incorporated. So that's where that came into play at. So here's kind of a zoomed in area of where our repeater system and how it's set up. And like I said before, the National Weather Service in Shreveport has a CWA coverage area that they cover. So this system is set up in a form and in a way that it covers that CWA. Yes, do we have some areas that are not within there that we can't get communications? Yes, we do, but we are working on that. So here's where MESHCON is going to come into play, okay? If you can't go to a repeater site, or you do not have a place or a tower that you can put a repeater on, if you have nodes in areas, you open up a space to be able to cover those areas that you can't get radio coverage. So you're using your other tool within your toolbox to be able to save lives. It can come down to that, okay? So that hits us right here in the heart of what we do and how we go about doing things. So with the distance that you get with repeater sites and putting a node relay up on those, it expands your coverage area. So we have actually got the MESHCON mesh set up in Northeast Texas to where it expands past the CWA coverage area for the National Weather Service. That was my goal. That's what we wanted to do. And the reason we wanted to do that is because there are areas we cannot get to put repeater sites at that will link back into our system. Yes, we have some other sites that we're working on that will open some of that up, but the MESHCON protocol has opened us up to be able to receive information from other parts of the CWA that we wasn't able to get before. Again, here's kind of a picture that explains what I'm talking about the CWA that the National Weather Service Shreveport has and what they cover. So that kind of gives you an idea of how this is laid out on the map as far as not just for the repeater system with the Freedom Link group, but with the MESHCON setup and mesh that we have set up there. So this is just another deal there that kind of tells you a little bit for you ham radio operators, the frequencies that are lined out on our sites. That is a list of our sites, repeater sites that are all linked together. Just remember that this system was built to be a last resort type of communication within Northeast Texas. It is RF linked. It does not have any internet capabilities. So that is a big key to what this system was set up for. I abide by that. I try to abide by how this system was developed. And that's, as long as I'm over it, that's what it's going to be, because that's just how a system needs to be set up for last resort emergency communications within the community of where you live at. So it's pretty cool. You see this from Red Lick right here goes up to the top up there. One of our repeaters that's out there is on Mount, I just went blank, Arkansas. Mount Magazine. It is on Mount Magazine. So they do not leave that completely hooked at all times because they use that particular repeater site as their local communications deal, but it's in time controlled in the controller system to be able to be connected up at any time or set up at times. So it's pretty cool to set in your home or on a HT and be able to talk to Mount Magazine, people up in that area. That's northern Arkansas. That's pretty cool stuff, you know, through RF transmissions. If we ever got a mesh put on Mount Magazine, we would be able to do the same thing through the 915 megahertz bandwidth because of how narrow and how far it will travel through the airwaves. So, interesting part there. So I had to leave this basically for the last part of my presentation. You know, I talk about the Freedom Link group and the repeater system and how it is made up. Y'all that are maybe not as familiar with how repeater systems are set up, I wasn't when I became a ham radio operator in 2017. I had a lot to learn. I had a lot thrown on my plate. I didn't know nothing about repeaters, okay, and how you have to go about doing it as far as keeping them up. It's been a big learning curve for me. Our system is set up like a wagon wheel. If you take a wagon wheel and you have a hub in the center, and then the spokes come off of this wagon wheel, at the end of those spokes is where your other repeaters are located at. Well, you have your hub, the hub repeater, okay? I know this might not sound like very high up in the air to the gentleman here from South Carolina, but our hub repeater, which is our main source for income and outcome of the radio transmissions, is at 632 feet above sea level. It is on a mountain, it's so-called mountain in Cass County, that's called Casita Mountain. There's some history behind that mountain. That was where settlers went to keep an eye over the territory because it was the highest point in northeast Texas within 7 counties. So our repeater site, hub, is located on this tower on top of Casita Mountain, and it was an original tower that was put there by AT&T. You see the big things on the side of it? That was AT&T set up for the very first cell phone coverage in northeast Texas. We were given the rights to be able to do anything on that tower that we want to do, and that's where our hub is at. So you see the little circle up here? That's a Spec 5 relay. That was one of the very first relays that we put up to start to build the system, and best guess, it is at 732 feet above sea level. So it is up in the air for northeast Texas, and it is our hub of the mesh. So here's kind of an aerial view of it up there. If you was up on the tower, that's what you would see. And again, height is king. Height is king. Thank y'all. I really appreciate y'all inviting me to this. Thank you. I hope I did okay. I hope I explained this good enough for y'all. And thank you. I appreciate y'all. Yes, sir.